Hi guys, Lita here from Art with Lita. Welcome back to my channel. You are most welcome here. Today, surprise, surprise, I am making a horse. Bet you didn't see that coming, huh? I have decided to play today with some of my new inks. These are Winsor and Newton inks, and I believe the color I'm using is ultramarine. Just a nice, cool color that I can use. I wanted to make a horse that was kind of porcelain with hand-painted blue flowers and stuff on it. If you get online and just go to Google Images and just type in something like blue porcelain or something along that line, you can see some of the most beautiful pottery and artwork, all painted with blue flowers and just various blue things. And I wanted to try to recreate that on the body of a horse. So this is my attempt at it. It's something I've never really done before, but we'll see how it turns out. The inspiration for the flower designs I got from a book I own that I found on Amazon. I will be linking that in the description below. As usual, I will be including all the materials that I'm using today and all the different things that have gone into making this. If you look in the top left-hand corner there, you can see the box of the Winsor and Newton ink that I've used. I did sketch this out beforehand. I did it freehand. I freehanded everything. But let me tell you, it took a minute to get those vines and leaves and everything in there just right. It was very technical, which I can do technical work, but it just kind of wore me out. So I think I did the sketch a day or two beforehand, and then I finally got around to sitting down and painting it. Now, the book I used for inspiration from the designs, it has to do with motifs, and it has some of the most gorgeous things in there. And I really should get it out and use it more because they're just beautiful. Those vines, they're gorgeous. They're fun to play with. I mean, just look at that. And look at how pretty that is. There will be a long form video coming out on Friday with all the footage from this recording. You know, sometimes it can be hard to spend all those hours working on a piece and filming it, and then having to go in and cut down a couple of hours of work down to just a few minutes. It's almost like a betrayal to all the time spent on the work of art. But I guess that's just how it goes. So there's a few minutes here, but as I said, the long form is coming out on Friday, and you'll be able to see the work done in real time. Everything is sped up here by 300%, so I'm actually working much slower than you can see here. And I wanted to tell you, that's how it usually is in YouTube videos, almost all the time in art YouTube videos. They're usually sped up just because I guess we're afraid of things, you know, being boring for the viewer, or, you know, whatever. Trying to make things fit into that perfect 15 to 20 minute window or whatever it is in YouTube. And so it gets sped up, but you can't expect to make a decent work of art in just a few minutes. It usually takes a bit of planning and a bit of sketching, and in my case, research as far as what these flowers would look like and what they look like in real life on vases and stuff. And then comes all the painting and all of that. So it's usually hours and hours of work just to do a more simple sketchbook piece like this. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's a long form video coming out on Friday and you can watch it if you like. If you're looking for a place for good reference photos for stuff like this, you have the usual places like Pixabay and Unsplash, and Pexels is becoming more and more popular. But I also want to point you towards Facebook. Get on Facebook and just search up free reference photo groups. And there's many of them there. And those are places where not only amateur photographers, but also, professional level work is given to artists for their use. I'm a member in several different groups, and I'm constantly finding things that I love. The reference for this horse came from Karen Bromelsick. I think I'm saying that right. And she has some of the most beautiful horse images you're going to find anywhere. And she gives them for free to artists to use. All you have to do is make sure that you give her the credit she rightly deserves for having taken that picture. And I will be putting a link to the reference photo in the description below if I can find it. This is a photo that I saved many years ago, so I'll have to go and do some digging through Karen's group. But I think I'll find it, and I'll put the link. Just look at those beautiful flowers and vines. It's amazing what you can do with ink and just how beautiful and detailed it looks. When I dip my paintbrush into the ink bottle, I'm very careful to not get it all the way up to the ferrule. That would be the metal part, because I don't want the ink to work its way up in there and harden. I'm not sure if I would be able to get that washed out after the ink dries. And I do try to take very good care of my brushes. Decent paintbrushes can be expensive, and they're worth buying. They are definitely worth spending the money on. But at the same time, you do want to take very good care of them. This particular paintbrush is one that I got for watercolor use, but I never really use it. So I decided I was going to use this for the ink because I don't want to accidentally destroy my expensive watercolor brushes. Just adding in a bit of shading there along those leaves. Here I switched over to colored pencil to do the shading for the horse itself. I kind of wish I hadn't. Kind of wish I'd gone with watercolor or something that can give a very, very smooth finish, because I was wanting this horse to look like it's porcelain or something. And I think in the end, colored pencils wasn't the best choice. Maybe if I had done a better job blending them out, it would have looked better, but By the end, it still looks just a little bit dark and a little bit rough, but that just gives me an excuse to try something like this again and see if I can get a better result with watercolor. Now these are Faber-Castell pencils, I believe. I wish I had left the shading just as it is now, but because, I don't know, for whatever reason, I go in and I keep on darkening it. I did try to get a very neutral colored gray to keep the color very neutral, because I really wanted the only color that's really jumping out at the viewer to be that beautiful blue of the ink. If you guys like this video, please do give me a like and subscribe. It does help my little tiny channel. And doing so will also help YouTube show my work to more people. So I would definitely appreciate that. It's like I said, I'm trying to keep all the color very, very neutral. So I'm going in with a gray there just to help the horse pop out a bit. So I'm coloring in the entire background. That gray is from my Gansai Tambi watercolor set, the Kuretake ones. And you can see how much smoother that watercolor is compared to the colored pencil. Now I know you can use alcohol and different things to blend out colored pencil, but I really don't know why I didn't do that here. Maybe I should have. But that's what sketchbook work is for. It's for experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't. I do kind of like the cutout look, but in the end, I do go in and darken the lines all around that horse. So what kind of pieces have you guys done with such a severely limited palette? So I'm really down to just 2 colors here, if gray can be considered a color. Have you done anything, maybe with just a couple of colors? Let me know. You see how that watercolor up above the horse's mane is kind of working its way up because the paper is still wet and the paint was still damp. It wasn't fully dry. I just love that. I know many artists, they call that like the cauliflower effect, and they absolutely hate it and they try their best to avoid it. I love the way it looks and I love the texture that it gives to watercolor. And many times I put the paint down hoping that it'll do exactly that, or I will just take clean water on my watercolor brush and dab it in here and there to try and get some cauliflowers to form. You know, just because most artists or most people say that it has to be in one way, or they insist that something is a mistake, it doesn't mean that it is. If you like cauliflowers in your watercolor work, go ahead and add some cauliflowers. And guess what I'm going to do now? I'm adding drops of water. I'm hoping that it'll go into that paint and create some more texture. The paint was pretty dry by this point, so I'm not sure how successful I was. I did get out one of my metallic pens and I'm just creating a border for this horse. Just a nice silver color. I think my pen is starting to get dry though. Probably time to replace it. I've had it for several years now. And yes, that is me going in and making my porcelain horse even darker. I have no idea why I did this. I wish I hadn't. But as they say, hindsight is always 20/20. And as I watch this footage now, I'm like, Lita, it was fine. It was fine the way it was. You didn't need to do that. I guess I'll know for the next one I make. I think to get any good at this sort of work, I would have to do lots and lots of them. You know, you need to put in the brush miles, as they say. There, the tip of my pencil broke. That means I'm using Prismacolor, not the Faber-Castell. Faber-Castell tips don't break. Well, that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I did enjoy making it, and I always have a lot of fun making my works of art, whether they turn out great or they turn out not so great. Do remember to like and subscribe. Lita out.